Thank you. Excited to be here. I've actually been with Shift for going on 3 years now, and been to a few of these learning labs, and honestly, you guys have been innovative from the start. So very, very happy to be involved in this one. But I think lead handling training has always been a very big topic, as Blair said. As digital has evolved, as dealerships have evolved, your marketing has changed, and you've been driving a lot more customers to your websites, right? And we've focused a lot on the website experience a lot. And the one area that's always been kind of a hidden gem, or the, I guess the Komodo, is that lead handling or the lead management aspect. What department do you have? It could be any number of things. When you talk about increasing close rate, there's about 20 variables in there. But the nice part is, being part of the Shift Digital and being a very close partner with Toyota, is we get to analyze data and create action from it. So being able to say, we know that customers want it this way because this is what the data says. And that's something that's unique to us, and something that we love to share with you guys, because I really think it's going to change your perception of how consumers need to be communicated with once they contact your dealership. So Kelly's going to talk a lot about it. I absolutely love this study, but they tracked a car buyer for over her experience and found that there was over 900 digital touch points. And it's astonishing, but the one area that stood out to me is that 186 manufacturer interactions. Now this goes to show that customers are going on BUYATOYOTA and Toyota.com at a very high rate, and we've seen leads from those sources for a long time. 186 manufacturer interactions is not something to think lightly of, because they trust the manufacturer at a high level, so they're going to go to those websites and engage with them. And I'll show you some calls to actions and ways that we've tried to engage the consumer on those levels to create a better experience. Additionally, as Blair said, the lead volume continues to rise on these OEM leads, specifically Toyota.com and BUYATOYOTA.com. So you guys have been receiving these leads for a long time, and there's a lot of data that we send over with those. So DealerSocket, who's also a close partner with Shift Digital, ran a large study on 22 million leads. Pretty good sample size, huh? So what they found is that dealers that respond with an email response and a phone call within 16 to 30 minutes have a 23% higher close rate than dealers that respond in under 15 minutes. Why is that? Quality, answering the questions. I heard good responses, right? What was the old adage 5 years ago, 10 years ago of, how many of your internet managers are beating your staff over the head if they don't respond in 4 minutes? Like, what we find is that the dealers that take the time and create a best-in-town customer experience have a higher close rate. Makes perfect sense, right? So what does that look like? The highest performing dealers in the country, when we look at response frequency, how often do they contact the customer? What are they doing to engage that customer? You cannot sell an empty chair, right? You have to engage the consumer at some point. They're calling the prospect 8 times over 30 days on average. When you look at average contacts per lead, and this is out of our ELM system, the number one, the region that Blair is, I'm going to help him beat, is Boston. And they've been number 1 in close rate in the country for many, many years. And you can see they're number 1 in mystery shop, they're number 1 in average contacts per lead, they're number 1 in BDCs, they're number 1 in everything. But they just do an incredible job at contacting the customer and maintaining contact. So sending 5 personalized emails in the first 5 days. Sounds pretty simple, but how many of your CRMs are just pumping out automated emails after 2 days because your salespeople are too busy to handle it, right? Utilizing text messaging. There's a lot of software that's available now that you can actually text customers, and they respond very well to those. And then outlining your communications. When I ran internet departments, I ran a spiff, and I said, every customer that calls me and says that you contacted them too much, I'm going to give you $100. How much money did I pay out? None. Because customers will eventually answer the phone, but one of the best practices that these high-performing dealers do is outlining their communications. If I say, hi Blair, this is Brad Hampton with Hampton Toyota. Sorry I missed you. I went ahead and sent you an email. Look for it in your inbox. It's going to come from Brad Hampton. It's going to have your vehicle information. By the way, I'm going to go ahead and give you a call tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. to see if I can get you before work. And what happens when Blair sees my phone call him at 8:30 in the morning? He's not going to be angry. He's going to be like, well, he followed through on what he said he was going to do. So as long as you outline your next communication every single time, It creates a very transparent process for the customer, and it's a revealing aspect of, I know he's going to call me, or I know he's going to email me. Response quality. If anybody was around back in the days when AUTOMOTIVE used to fax leads, they had a best practice sheet that I'm trying to get a hold of. It has to be out there somewhere. But number one on that best practice sheet for AUTOMOTIVE fax leads was read the lead. And I'm here in 2016 standing on a stage begging dealers to read the lead when it comes in. So it's a funny irony for me. But answering those customer questions is vital. Sending multiple trim levels. This is where I dare you to go on your website and try to compare what's on an XLE versus an LE versus an SE. It's very difficult. And even on Toyota.com, it can be a little difficult to understand the different trim levels. So it is best practice to send a customer multiple trim levels because they may not know what comes on all of them. How much money does Toyota put on the hood of cars every month to subvent a lease or to drop an APR? And when a customer sees all that advertising all the way down and then they submit a lead and then we fire back, yeah, that Camry's available, $29,995 when you want to come in. It's a shame. I mean, we have amazing incentives on our vehicles, and when a customer submits a lead on a Camry, we don't tell them, my God, have you heard? Toyota has a $189 a month lease on the Corolla or Camry right now, and a 0% for 60 months and $2,500 customer cash. I mean, if we are not sending every Camry lead or every Corolla lead, every RAV4 lead, every lead the incentives that we have available, we're doing ourselves a disservice because they've already seen them. Addressing that Toyota ownership loyalty. Toyota's a pretty loyal customer, right? Thank you for being a loyal Toyota customer. Very simple. Asking those open-ended questions to engage a conversation, and then optimizing for mobile. I mean, very high-performing quality emails that address key items. So Stanford and Columbia ran a really cool study where, and it makes perfect sense. When you provide somebody too many options, they don't make a decision. When you provide somebody no options, they don't make a decision. What is our standard procedure for asking for an appointment when we talk to leads? When can you come in? When do you want to come in? And what's the standard response? Nothing, or I got to talk to my wife, or I don't know, eventually. But what they found is that when consumers are presented a limited number of choices, and this is straight out of Stanning's book, and I'll give him credit for it, but consumers are 10 times more likely to make a decision when they're provided to a limited number of choices, i.e., Mr. Hampton, I have an extended drive appointment at 4:45 or 6:30. Which one works better for you? And what we find is that the dealerships who implement just this practice alone of the 2 appointment times have a 15 to 20% increase in their appointment set. It's very, very simple. It's a very easy thing to do, and it can instantly affect the amount of appointments your dealership sets. And then providing that appointment transparency. When do you want to come in? Well, why do I need to come in? What are we trying to accomplish? When you outline, I have 2 extended drive appointments available. I have 2 vehicle appraisal appointments available, really creating that value for the customer, why they need to come into the dealership. And then the best in town customer experience. I've worked with I've had the pleasure, the luxury, the luck of going into a lot of really great dealerships. And there's a dealership out in the Kansas City region where the salesperson schedules FaceTime walkarounds. How many people have iPhones? The salesperson says, I'd love to give you a digital walkaround of this car. I have 2 FaceTime appointments available at 4:45 or 6:30. His ability to close deals after he does those FaceTime walkarounds is incredible. I've seen him in action. It's very, very cool. 360 test drives. Right Toyota in Scottsdale, they're kind of one of my guinea pigs, but they send their customers 360 test drives when they submit leads. We're going to take you on a test drive of this vehicle, show you every feature. And then that VIP appointment experience. How many people back your appointment cars up in front of the dealership and put a hang tag that says reserved on it? Beautiful. It is the single biggest thing that you can do to actually affect close rate before you even talk to the customer when they come to the dealership. Now imagine the process of I'm driving my clunker up onto the dealership lot and I see my car backed up, reserved for Hampton. That new car smell is going to go through 3 panes of glass and murder me before I talk to anybody at the dealership, right? It's insane the psychological effect it has on customers, because what do they always do? They park their car right next to their brand new shiny car, and then they've already bought it. They're done. And it's up to you to lose it at that point. So we rolled out this process, a dealer group up in the Seattle area tested this for 2 weeks, and he actually called a company out and painted an entire VIP appointment row in front of his dealership because it worked that well. So I highly encourage you to engage in those types of best in-town experiences. There we go. So let's talk about Toyota.com, BuyToyota.com leads, right? So tier 1, tier 2, very, very important in the car buying process. They need to understand, they have trust in the manufacturer. We track these customers from a flow perspective. Now, the brand lead universe, you've probably seen these: request a quote, build and price, local specials, and the all-important KBB trade-in, which we'll go into. And then the TDDS third party, which I have some amazing data to show you on those. And then TFS leads, which are the highest closing leads that we get in the Toyota universe. So here's a very, very recent report, hot off the press as of last week. But this is the lead velocity. How fast do these brand leads close? So the customers that, this is days from new vehicle lead to a sale. The blue bar is new vehicle lead to a new car sale. 52% of these customers are buying in 0 to 5 days. 15% are buying in 6 to 15 days. 7% are buying 11, 15 days, and you can see a little bit of a bump. It makes sense from a consumer standpoint. I'm going to buy right away because I'm ready and need all the information, or wow, I got into the process and realized that I'm $5,000 upside down on my trade and I don't have all my credit buttoned up and I need to come up with a down payment. So then you see that bump up around that 16 to 30 day mark. But the important fact here is that, remember the old adage of buy or die, and follow up with them for 365 days. What's your 800-day process? It's gone. Sorry, guys. You need to engage with them, and Kelly's going to go over some great data on how much the consumer engages with vehicles before they purchase. So it's imperative that you analyze your internal processes and talk about, how am I following up in that first 5 days, the first 10 days, the first 30 days. So Toyota lead comments. See, we're so lucky. I wish I had this back in my retail days, but the amount of data that we send over to you with the lead is incredible. And it's ammo. And it's almost a T-ball. So we tell you how many leads the customer submitted previous to this lead. We tell you the lead source, where it came from, lead details. But here's the awesome part. We tell you ownership history. We scrub the Toyota ownership and service history, and we say, yes, we found a match. This customer owns this vehicle, and this vehicle. I was in a dealership a couple months ago. Customer submitted a lead. They bought a brand new Highlander in 2010. They bought a brand new Highlander in 2013, and the dealership has a lead on a brand new Highlander. What is the customer going to do? You're going to buy a Highlander, right? And the dealership responds back with, have you had a chance to drive a Highlander before? Is that a best-in-town customer experience? The last service date, do you think your used car manager would be more inclined to possibly over-allow on a trade if that car had recently been in for service and requires very little recon? Maybe. So let's talk about the Toyota.com, BuyToyota.com. It's a very engaged consumer. They've been exposed to these regional specials that H&L and Saatchi do a great job of pumping out. We do not promote multiple lead submissions. On these website sources, Toyota.com and BuyToyota.com, it makes no sense for us to send this lead to multiple dealerships. That's not a good experience. Now, the customers do submit multiple leads. We allow them to select one and send, but if they want to send another one, they have to go rebuild the vehicle. Or they have to go through the entire process again. But what do you think the average time is between a customer submitting multiple leads on these sources? 3 hours. Why do you think that is? Didn't get an answer. The dealership responded with $29,995 when you want to come in, right? Not a great customer experience. So these customers go back through that process, go through the brain damage of finding another dealer that's going to give them a good experience. And you can only build vehicles that are in the region allocation. So if you get a lead from one of these sources, a build and price, that vehicle's in the region right now. So it's available. Here's an example response for a build and price lead. Obviously, on the top right, you can see they selected an LB10 interior, an 8S6 exterior. Pretty specific build, right? They live 3.4 miles away from the dealership. And by the way, in Elms, you can pull all this data for your customers too. So all your lost sales, you can pull this same data. We responded with, hey, thank you for your inquiry about the Prius. I have many of those in stock, even though I don't really care about which one you actually built. And when is a good time for you to come by and test drive, right? Didn't address any of the customer information. So this customer actually bought from a competing dealership and never responded to our initial emails. Here's an example of a local specials lead. So when you see these lead types, I know this comes over as a giant word vomit. And it's not, we try, but the lead industry, the way it sends over leads, it just kind of glumps everything together. And so it's kind of hard to decipher some of this stuff. But when you look closely, you can see this customer submitted a lead on a local specials. They specifically selected the Camry, 2016 Camry, $189 a month for $21.99 due at signing. And we never mentioned the lease, we never addressed the vehicle, never provided them really a lot of value. So great opportunity there when you actually read the lead, structuring a great response. So best practices on these. Read the lead, please. Email, phone, and text within 30 minutes and outline that communication. You can't sell an empty chair. Address that Toyota ownership. Thank you for being a loyal Toyota customer. I'm excited to help you buy a car this time. Address those incentives, send multiple trim levels. Third-party validation is a fun one. So when in that dealer socket study at 20 million leads, they found that when you validate, use third-party validation on the vehicle, the salesperson or the dealership, it actually ups your close rate. So hey, I'm not sure if you saw, the Camry just had best resale value out of the entire segment. Or don't trust what I say, look at my dealer rater page to see what my customers say about their purchase experience from me. Or we just won President's Award. Take a look at the criteria that goes into that and why that makes us such a great dealership. Let's talk about these trade-in leads. These are one of my favorites, and you're going to hear some great data on these from some of the speakers later in the day. But finding out what your current car is worth is number 4 in the buying process, according to AutoTrader, their 2016 study, actually. So top 5 activities online. They want to know what their current car is worth. I don't want to buy a new car until I figure out if I'm $5 grand upside down. And then this is an actual quote from a customer that responded back to a dealership, and she said, I was looking to trade my 2014 Camry in and get a new one, but it's showing a trade value of $13,000, so I don't think I'll be able to get a new one. Now, and there's a reason for that, and we're going to go into that. So increased traffic. We've had a ton of traffic on this website, and I'm not going to go into it because our speakers will. But we optimized the trade-in pages. The majority of dealers never mention the trade-in when these leads get sent. And it's not necessarily your fault. Once again, the way the leads come over, the vehicle of interest is always first. And in order to get a trade-in value, you have to select a vehicle of interest. So these customers submit a lead and try to get a value on their trade, and then we respond back with, yeah, that Camry's available, 2016, $29,995 when you want to come in. And that's why the customers, we generally have a less than 5% close rate on these leads. So this is what it looks like, and if anybody's ever filled these out, it's not very easy, is it? You go and select every option under the sun. What do I have? What do I don't have? And then you'll notice in the middle, it asks the customer what your car's condition is in, and it defaults to good. You think your used car manager wants to take in every trade-in on a good condition? You bet they do. So 54% of all cars we value meet this criteria. And then, by the way, at the end, they say, what car are you interested in order to get your value? What do you think is the number 1 lead submitted for these? 4Runner. Why? It's first. It's at the top of the list. They don't want to buy a new car until they figure out what their current car is worth. And here's the deal. They get this trade-in receipt, and it says, by the way, a sales associate is going to contact you to discuss your trade-in vehicle. And by the way, here's your good value. And let me tell you, this good value is a pretty bad value. So KBB is owned by Cox Automotive, who also owns Manheim. So they have auction values, and they don't send the customer this, but they send you this. This is great ammo. So they send you, this customer submitted a lead on a trade-in lead, and the Kelley Blue Book retail price on that vehicle was $17,400. The auction value was $14,200, and we gave the customer a trade-in value of $12,600 to $13,800. What's the mentality of these customers when they get that information? They're angry. I thought my car was worth more. And what are they looking for? They're looking for a glimmer of hope that your internet salesperson is going to say, I got you. I think this car is actually worth more. I don't know until we can get you in for a vehicle appraisal appointment, right? So this was an example that same customer, they responded back and they actually ended up purchasing from a competing dealer, but we never addressed the trade-in. We didn't provide any vehicle details. We focused on the new vehicle instead of the trade-in. The best dealerships on these leads that close these at a high rate, they never even mention the new car. They say, gosh, my used car manager thinks this car might be worth more in this market. I have no idea until I can get you in for a vehicle appraisal appointment. I have one at 445 or 630. And then they engage the customer. That gives them that glimmer of hope, and then they come in and buy. So, my talk tracks got moved. Sorry about that. But read the lead, that 30-minute response time, address that trade-in, focus on that appraisal appointment. That is the best practice there. And then the talk track that we've had work the best is, great news, my used car manager actually thought this car might be worth more in this market. Third-party leads. These are those 25% close rate, third-party, laydowns, 5-pound deals. Got a few chuckles, and never gets chuckles, but. So these leads are generated from a large variety of sources, and this industry has always been a little interesting, but they're generated a lot from search engines. So if you type in Camry deals, Camry clearance, Camry sale, chances are you might end up seeing an ad for Camry clearance, or it's going to send you to some type of site where you can fill out a lead. And you can see the experience here. How many of these leads come over with no trim level? Almost all of them. And it's because a lot of these sites don't offer the consumer experience to select that. And then you can see it's designed to send to multiple dealers. They buy the click for $7 and then send it to 5 dealers for $20 a piece. It's a brilliant business model. But there's some great data behind this, and I love it. So when we ran the competitive brand information on all these third-party leads, we found that 24% of them buy a vehicle. 24% close rate customers. And out of those that purchase, only 64% of them end up buying a Toyota, 36% buy a competitive brand. They have a 12-day average lead to sale. And here's a shocking one. 68% of them have never owned a Toyota before when we put them through the ownership database. What are these customers? It's your conquest. They're considering other brands. They're ready to buy. They have the money. They've never owned a Toyota before. So do our typical price and appointment templates work with these customers? $29,995, when you want to commit? No. This customer is unique. You need to coddle this person. These leads aren't junk, they're just hard. You just got to work. Perform a needs assessment. Ask them questions. Actually dive in and find out why they're buying. This is the best in town customer experience using this data that you can offer. So, quick example. These are hard to answer because you don't have a lot of information, but that can be a good thing if you tailor your responses. So no colors, no options, no ownership. Please call me. So these best practices, once again, those typical price and appointment templates don't work. One of the better talk tracks that we've used and seen success with is, our certified partner sent me your information, but unfortunately I don't have everything I need to give you a great buying process. I have a couple questions for you that could help me clarify. So using some of those talk tracks to really identify, and it's okay to say, are you reviewing any other models right now as well? I mean, what's the big benefit we have over other manufacturers relating to service? Toyota Care? It's a big benefit. I wouldn't mention Toyota Care on every lead, especially if they've just bought one 2 months ago, but a third-party lead, you better believe I'm going to mention Toyota Care and I'm going to expand on it and talk about its benefits. And then those payments and incentives. There we go. So every lead source needs a personalized response, not just these 3. Think about the best in town customer experience that you get, either Apple Store, Amazon, any of these companies that perfect at giving great experience. It's personalized. So TFS, total loss lead. I cry at night because I see dealerships lose these. I mean, this is a customer that has a check in hand from TFS that says, go buy a new car. And we respond with, yeah, $29,995 when you want to, I mean, it's crazy. And then membership leads. There's some good best practices there on just using the certificate as a way to get them in the door. So same thing, when we run these mystery shops, and once again, we design the mystery shops around best practices that equate to selling more cars. And it's no surprise that for the past 3 months, Boston has been #1 by a mile in the mystery shop as far as their responses. They read the lead, they answer the questions, they offer payments and incentives, they do a great job. Last month, only 30% of our dealers in this region answered the question or comment that we included with the lead. So it's imperative that we actually look internally, look at your processes. Are we training our salespeople to read that lead? Are we training them to address the customer's concerns? It's important, right? So performing your own in-dealership assessment. This is where my team goes out across the nation and helps dealerships with all these items. Specifically, these 5 focus areas that define what your process is. How do you address customers? What's the best in class? How do you get better? Your structure, your staffing, your technology, your accountability, your process, all these items from a high level. Now, if we dive down into these, how am I doing on time, Blair? Okay. So department structure. Why do you have your department structure? Anybody said, oh, BDCs are better than internet departments, and oh, hybrid's better than this and that? I've seen excellent departments across the board. The one thing BDCs do solve, can you hire somebody that can sell a car at a high level and give a great customer experience and also manage online communication and the daily details? If you can't find that person, then yeah, BDC works great because I can hire somebody that can communicate online effectively and set appointments. I can hire somebody that can sell cars. It's very, very hard to find people that do both. That's kind of why BDCs exist, because it's more effective to hire and manage at that level than to try to create an internet dealership where everybody's answering leads. Now, you can get there, and that's where we move people through a cycle of, great, once we perfect your hiring, we help you with recruiting and finding the right people, then we can talk about which department you have. And are you sticking your best salespeople in internet department? Yeah, my guy's been selling 25 cars a month for the past 15 years. I'm just going to stick him in internet because that's logical. Well, not really. What's harder to close? A fresh up that walks on the lot and you have no information, or an internet appointment that you set? The fresh up. The internet appointment's already ready to go. They close at 60%. The fresh up's going to close at 25, 30%. So why do we stick our new green people on the lot to try to have them sell those and then have our most experienced salespeople sell the easy to close leads? Appointments, right? Kind of a strange concept. So, and is your BDC handling service, equity mining, marketing? Are they overloaded? Can they give this best-in-class customer experience we just went through? And if they can't, you need to analyze how your department's set up. Your staffing. Am I recruiting and hiring and training the right people? Once again, I love sticking a brand new salesperson that can't break 6 cars a month into my internet department. Because then you can actually give him a chance. He can learn the ropes, sell appointments, learn how to set appointments, learn how to analyze a customer needs analysis. These are great skills that the internet department teaches. And then, is your internet department in your dealership a promotion or a demotion? Do people dread going into there, or do people want to go into there? The best dealerships in the country, the internet department is a revered department. It's like the Knights of the Round Table. These guys are excellent at what they do. They can set appointments. They can give great customer experience. If that's not the department that you have in your dealership, you should analyze that. And do you have enough people to deliver a quality response? So how many people have heard some stat on how many leads per person you should take, right? And I used to be one of those people, it's like 100 leads per person, guaranteed. But what we found in going into dealerships time and time again is that everybody's a little bit different. And I know this is kind of a hard graph to read, but I'll explain it. So if I hand you 10 leads, how many appointments are you going to set? 8? 10? Because you're going to give an unbelievable customer experience. You're going to film video on the lot of the car. You're going to follow up with them personally. You're going to send, connect with them on the phone 3 times a day. I mean, it's going to be a great experience. Now, if I give you 180 leads, how many appointments are you going to set? Right? Same thing. As lead volume increases, your ability to set a solid appointment ratio decreases. So the ideal salesperson is going to set a 35 to 40% appointment to lead. Ideal. And that's given the right tools, the right training, and the right metrics and I guess, ability to give that quality response. If your salespeople aren't trained to give a quality response anyway, you're never gonna hit a 35, 40%. But as you start increasing lead volume, your goal, and everybody's different, I could probably only handle 80 leads per month before my appointment to lead starts dropping off. Now, somebody else, Blair, might be able to handle 150 leads and still maintain that 35, 40% appointment to lead, right? So as a manager, the best internet manager is gonna analyze each of his salespeople and find out their strengths. Who's reaching that 35% appointment to lead? And you know what? Guess what? I can start increasing lead volume for that person. And you get into this lead volume efficiency range for each salesperson. So that's where you come up with kind of these efficiency ranges. And this is a generalization of what we see in the industry. If you're just sending your leads out to the sales floor, which is a pretty rare model now, but 25 to 50 leads per month. If you have an internet department, with poor training and poor tools, I've seen a salesperson set 10% appointment to lead with 10 leads, or 20 leads, or 30 leads. But at proper training and proper tools, 75 to 100 is about optimal for that internet department to give that quality response. Same thing, BDC, 125 to 150. But once again, these are very general numbers, but a great internet manager is going to analyze each of their salespeople and effectively create a training plan for them on how to reach that. Does that make sense? So, same thing, technology. Are you providing the tools necessary for that best-in-town experience? The top dealerships in the mystery shop, they have personalized video. They have these beautiful email templates that are designed for a great customer experience. They have talk tracks that their salespeople use. I'm not saying, I hate templates, to be honest. I don't like installing because then the dealership uses them for every lead. So talk tracks are better because we had a Word document pasted to the side of the monitor where, depending on the lead type, the salesperson would grab the word track that fit the best. So, and is your staff trained on how to use that CRM effectively? Do you trust your data that's coming out of it? You can't make actionable business decisions off of bad data. It's important. It took me a year of retail to get my CRM to pump out solid data. And then process. Who created your customer response and follow-up process? Did DealerSocket create it 6 years ago and you're still running with it? Did an old internet manager who completely tore into it and created that process and he's now gone? Is that the process that's running? What process do you want to run? Design the best-in-town customer experience and then have your CRM provider implement it. They will gladly do it. They love doing that stuff rather than coming in and get beaten over the head about too many to-dos or anything like that. They would much rather design it around a process that you are comfortable with. So analyze it. Do you know how many auto emails are sent in the first 5 days at your dealership? You should. And then as it followed, those follow-up processes are designed to be a safety net. You know, obviously, salespeople should be following up accordingly. And if you communicate that process for a best-in-town experience, they'll go for it. And then accountability. What metrics are you holding your sales staff to? Gross? Are we getting into the taboo pay plan talk? But are you holding your staff to gross? Are you holding them to volume? Are you holding them to just raw sales? I mean, on e-commerce, we judge it based on how many customers can you get in the door. You can't sell an empty chair. You can't sell an empty appointment. You're just hoping that they come in. But if you start tracking these numbers and say, gosh, Brad, you're only at a 25% appointment to lead this month. I used to call it the wall of accountability. I'd have all my salespeople ranked by their appointment to lead. And then you can actually compare and say, Bob, you got the same number of appointments as Brad, but you're setting half, or you got the same number of leads as Brad, but you're setting half the appointments. Why don't you go sit down with Brad and train on what he's doing to set more appointments? That's best-in-class training. And then, are their KPIs clearly defined? The dealerships that I go in that are high-performing, those salespeople know their numbers every month. When you walk up and down the aisle, they're like, yep, I'm at a 25%, I need to bring it up, right? So when we brought in data, we said, what is the best dealership? If I was going to start a dealership today, we analyzed data from DealerSocket, from Penske, from all the top dealer groups in the nation, and we put together a list of what are the metrics that we should try to hit. So if I get 300 leads, I should try to make a two-way communication with 75% of them. And that's through multiple contact methods and a great first email response following a process. And then appointment to lead, 40% is strong. The average dealership's around 18 to 20% in the nation. But just by recommending 2 appointment times, you can jump that up to 30, 35%. 75% appointments show. That's through a strong manager confirmation call. If managers aren't confirming your numbers, they should be, or confirming your appointments, they should be. We found that if a salesperson just sets an appointment, the customer is going to show up 60% of the time. If a manager confirms it, they're going to show up 75% of the time. And then appointments sold, 55%. This is where your dealership, best way to increase appointments sold, I just take away the sales manager's chairs, but just kidding. But having that solid appointment process where the customer pulls up, that vehicle's out there, it's a best experience, I've seen that jump up to 65, 70%. So, and what that equates to is an average close rate based on our industry lead mix, a 16.5% close rate, which is strong. It's very strong. So, you guys have an incredible support system. One, the process that we look at, obviously, like Blair said, the foundation, it makes no sense to go drive 10,000 more site visitors if you can't handle the lead volume that you already get. It has to start there. And then once you show proficiency in handling that lead volume, then you look at your website and how does it perform? Am I taking the traffic that I already get and converting it into qualified customers? And then we look at your social media and reputation, because it doesn't make sense to drive a ton more traffic if you have a 2-star rating on every review site out there, right? Because they're never going to reach your website. They're never going to submit a lead. And then by that time, what I love to do, is to go into dealerships that are proficient in these areas and said, you know what, I've devoted the time, I've gotten better. Now guess what? We can open the faucet. We can drive so much traffic and lead volume and performance that it's going to blow your mind. And like I said, that support system, gosh, you got the man, the myth, Blair, and then his team, and then you got Tom Schroeder, who's the Toyota operations consultant for this region. You have a great team. And these, let me tell you, when you have a great team like this that can come into your dealership and help you with all the processes that we talked about today, you want to dive into a CRM, Tom's certified in all of them. You want to talk marketing, Blair's team is very, very skilled with training from the region. So you have a great support system. I highly, highly encourage you to lean on them. Ask them to come into your dealership. Help me with this topic, and they'll come help you. Any questions? Am I over? Perfect.
All right, guys, is there any questions? Okay, so, go ahead, Jeff.
So we find with technology, there's often a lot of broken links, wrong emails in the CRMs and so forth. So how often would you recommend that a dealership mystery shop themselves?
Gosh, in addition to the mystery shop that Toyota does, I mean, I'd be mystery shopping yourselves at least once a month. And by phone. I think a lot of people have done the exercise of just sit in your office and call your sales department. How long do you wait on hold? And then ask them about a vehicle. Do they know about it? Do they put you on hold? Stuff like that. So mystery shopping yourself is a great way to double check those processes. Send an email lead in, and you can see the automated emails that go out. You'd be shocked at how many CRMs will still send out auto emails for people that don't work anymore at the dealership. So, good question.
All right, any other questions? All right, everyone, big round of applause for Brad Hampton.
Thank you.